course, if conditions were right, refugees would go back of their own free will. I think what has to happen in Burma is something that we all know what has to happen. We have to have peace in Burma, and we have to have an economic situation where there will be sufficient employment for our people. And of course, peace talks have to be conducted because peace, or rather lack of it, is the main reason why they are refugees.
Bộ lên này tụ tháp giờ có lẽ tàu than này ra ta được cái đó đi qua ti bà chi đâu bà chi này bà phô bà này bà được khả nhà này cái này bà lấy phô cái đạp bà lấy chầu lấy cái chất cái bàn này hết chi này gì phô này ta chủ nhà này về bà ta có ta khe bà ta phê này gì phô này bà ta chủ ở đây bà chúng muốn lấy ti chút tí này.
Certainly, I would like them to understand that we are not going to forget them and that we will do everything possible to make the situation better.
Thank you very much.
Kuliah pelupio masalah. Kuliah kena potah swek kan. Aja adik tangnya makan itu dipel tension lah. Bây giờ đã còn nó bao thà là bò đà mà toa như này.
The political changes in Burma during this last 12 months in particular is providing us with a new opportunity, a new message. We all know that the changes themselves remain unpredictable.
The second one is that by having this conversation, I think one thing is many people whose voices are loud in Thailand and in Burma, many of which related to economic profit. That's also my concern, and in that sense I agree with you. The second one is that by having this conversation, I think
however skeptical one is, whatever one feels might be alternative motives, the reality is that this is the first time in a lifetime that there's been this opportunity. And so from our point of view, we have to take this opportunity. Yes, we can be cautious, but we do believe that we all have to try to make it work. If
the people that will be returning to Myanmar will be a significant contributor to nation building, and we need to be very careful on how this process is going to happen. If it is done improperly, it would mean that we would risk that the entire generations that will be returning to Myanmar would be poor equipped in order to develop themselves in the future. And that could pose the risk to the security and political development in Myanmar and also the regional stability.
One of the greatest impediments right now has been the continued presence of the Burma Army, the Tatmadaw, in those areas. And the refugees haven't had experience directly with Tatmadaw and its abusive behavior on the ground, are not going to go back in those areas as long as the Tatmadaw are there. But there are other issues also. Landmines are very prevalent.
nè mua ta ô là có cái gì à
mua ta ô à
bao nhiêu cái
là bây giờ ba mình nó qua thì bố có vùng mà nó qua cái lưới
à khoa cho nó tuyên nhà là đó tôi nhìn ra lộ trình đấy tôi thôi tay ra này mình mà tôi xếp thôi để lâu này
à thì cái này nó cái này chỉ là đôi cái bắp hề vậy là à từ bố à mai em nó cái là cái gì là cái bắp xe đó lấy ta là có bút điện nó à cái đôi này qua từ nó hồi ta đi tới xí lợp lợp rồi đi tới ta cái bộ cái bát rồi à vậy thì hấp bát lợp cả ta hồi ta mai làm luôn thà bà cái này là nó uốn này rồi nếu chỉ mai ta bên đó mà nó cái từ bút phá bút ta mi bà nào nó cái từ nó cái tê là mà ta bị ta đấy đó
food, rights, danger of work, etc., etc. These issues, the protection of the workers, automatically.
Cái article này qua tele qua cái xe qua mỏ lo qua cái xe qua mỏ lệ qua tên nó trả lại awe ở giá lệ từ xưa tới qua chi lo đó đó vậy được cái việc này chỉ là cái bả nó trả lời trả clear tu nó kia là cái chỗ nào để bị chỉ bảo vậy này
time that they're away, so previously they were in a village, they go back and find it's a rubber plantation. What are they going to do then? All these things are unanswered questions for the refugees. And it doesn't.
I heard many rumors that is the UN, they're going to send back to refugees to Burma. Also, Thai government, they're forced to go back to refugee to Burma.
I heard that all UNHCR went to Burma, talk about the repatriation of refugees.
Yeah, this one it's like I never meant the UNHCR, but I heard a lot of people talk about this one.
The funding, also food ration, have been cut. Because there will not be any support for the refugee who choose to stay, only for those who will go back. So different rumor, you can hear different rumor from different people. So we don't know whether it is real or not, and then it become a worry within the refugee camps. So that people keep asking and.
But of course also amongst the communities it's difficult for them to have all the information and to see the full picture. So many rumours float around that it's a very, very challenging time. But what I would say is that 6 months ago, if we had even mentioned.
Then also there's a survey in the camp by the Thai. And then ask you whether you want to stay, whether you want to go back, or whether you want to resettle to the third country. Then people started to worry that something will happen. And then again, they cut off the food rations.
Well, of course the fear is natural after 60 years of conflict, and where there can hardly be a refugee who hasn't had direct impact in their family. There has been torture, or their house has been burned down, or someone's killed. I mean, everyone has had that experience. So it's, of course, very difficult to believe in anything at this point.
The people in the camp, they feel scared, they feel sad or something like that. They're afraid.
Tôi khát tê và mấy cái bè và cái phiếu mà là tê bê là ta vào mấy phiếu bê lũ áp lê bê là ta ta bây giờ có một mua ba tuổi vừa mua bê là ta rồi mà kia là tôi bún hát bê là ta mà kia ô ta còn học đi đó đi ô ta đấy cái chơi làm học của đây này ta de ke na pa ta kwa na ke ti ha ke ta chi mo ni pe le ne I pe lo ta la ne le ko ta ke na pa pa de ke o ti de
na alo e
kwa ma pa ta kwa
I think in any context, UNHCR should be the voice of the refugees. We should be speaking up and advocating on their behalf. We should be reflecting their concerns and meeting their needs, whatever they are, because this is what we're here to do. Refugee protection, refugee assistance is our bread and butter. It's why we're here.
Here we they are the only organization, international organization, they can deal with the government. But here.
I think just from our history with working with both governments, I hope that we do have a lot of sway and we do add some international pressure, whether it's to respect basic refugee laws or humanitarian laws. I think we do bring that added value.
So if they want to speak on behalf of the refugees, they should be closely cooperate with the community and the refugees.
At this point, we don't have an operational plan. We're still at what we call the preparedness phase, trying to get everybody to agree on the principles. The exchange meeting with the UNHCR, they came and showed us the map of the relocation site. I was surprised. What I have learned in refugee return, so in international principle, refugees themselves, they have a right to choose the place or to make decisions. But here they are already prepared. I think I'll have to probe into that. I don't know enough to talk about it right now. I had heard about it in passing, but I don't know what the history is. My understanding is that it's a Myanmar government proposal, and I don't really know, to be honest, what our role is in that. I don't think we have much of a role, but I need to check. Because whatever happens in Myanmar, when it comes to displacement sites and places of origin, as we call them, that tends to fall under the whole UN interagency coordination thing. So it's not purely a UNHCR project. So I would be quite doubtful about our role in it.
I don't know, Muda on the Nepal. Matilda, I'm a finale, to you, I'm alone away.
So when we saw their document, we request them to share with us for a copy, but until now they didn't share with us. They said, and also when we write to them, they never reply for our request to get the map of the relocation site. I don't think they share with the other organization too.
I don't have this map and I'm not sure how to get it.
For refugees, we're not feeling that place is safe for all of us. Maybe even though the government and the UNHCR, they already plan to set up a relocation site, they should ask a refugee themselves go and visit the site.
But it would be interesting to know, how did they determine where those relocation sites are going to be? Did they provide information about that? Is this their pick or is it the government's pick, or I mean, who's making the decisions on this? In terms of relocation sites, you know, that sets up a whole set of issues that once again are being decided in closed door rooms. You know, will that relocation site be, for instance, a temporary receiving shelter for people to go further? Or will it essentially be moving the refugee camp from the Thai-Burma border into a specific place in Burma where people will then be primarily expected to stay there? You know, what's in the cards is completely unclear now. Right. Well, it may be. I mean, we don't know. I mean, providing work on one hand is not a bad thing, but work then.
I think in the past 1 or 2 years, we heard about the contingency plan of UNHCR. But at that time, even though we requested for the information where we can be part of the process, but we've been told that this is just the start, the beginning, so we should not be part of this yet. And then for the CBO, we feel like if we are not part of it at the beginning, how can we follow up on later?
So we're trying to play a coordinating role because people are already talking about it, and we feel that we need to coordinate it so that there isn't misinformation, there isn't pressure for people to go back prematurely, there aren't rumors and panic.
I think they are kind of one to control, and the other one can lead this process. And also they not believe community organization can lead this process. But for our community-based organizations, we think this process we can lead, and also we can organize our people.
I think from what I've heard from colleagues in Maison, it's going pretty well. I mean, I think we meet regularly with government authorities, the Thai authorities. We meet with the CBOs often, with the refugee committees. I know we meet regularly with TBBC, with the, I can never remember the acronym.
I asked UNHCR about the consultations with refugees regarding repatriations. Because from my visit to the field and meeting with a different group of the refugees in the camp, they expressed their concern that they have exhausted all of their attempts to consult UNHCR regarding repatriations or getting information from UNHCR.
At that meeting, we asked UNHCR, we request them to have a consultation with the community-based organization formally. So we request them to come and talk with the community-based organization. But until now, we still follow up 2 or 3 times to meet with them, but we don't get any reply from UNHCR.
There seems to be very, very little attempt to try to be inclusive. And not being inclusive to me is to maintain, even emphasize and reinforce the victimization process.
And it doesn't help that UNHCR is not doing more to place the refugees at the center of this decision-making process. I mean, ultimately, the success or failure of a repatriation is going to be determined by whether the refugees return voluntarily or not.
And I would wish that these repatriations could be historic in the sense that we have refugee-led repatriation program. And if that can happen, we could actually turn a new historical page on refugee protection.
We never get a reply, so it is hard to say if we trust them, because if we want to make trust each other or build up our trust, you have to come up closely and slowly to come closely to each other. But I feel now is we are still far away from each other. We are now saying without us, nothing about us without us. So this is our call at the moment.